Question 54.17. Questioner: I would like them to trace the evolution of catalyst upon the mind, body, spirit complexes and how it comes into use and is fully used to create this tuning. I assume that the sub-logos that formed our tiny part of the creation using the intelligence of the logos of which it is a part, provides the base catalyst that will act upon mind-body complexes and mind-body spirit complexes before they have reached a state of development where they can begin to program their own catalyst. Is this correct? Answer: I am Ra. This is partially correct. The sub-logos offers the catalyst at the lower levels of energy, the first triad. These have to do with the survival of the physical complex. The higher centers gain catalyst from the biases of the mind, body, spirit complex itself in response to all random undirected experiences. Thus the less developed entity will perceive the catalyst about it in terms of survival of the physical complex with the distortions which are preferred. The more conscious entity, being conscious of the catalytic process, will begin to transform the catalyst offered by the sub-logos into catalyst which may act upon the higher energy nexi. Thus the sub-logos can offer only a basic skeleton, shall we say, of catalyst. The muscles and flesh having to do with the, shall we say, survival of wisdom, love, compassion, and service are brought about by the action of the mind, body, spirit complex on basic catalyst so as to create a more complex catalyst which may in turn be used to form distortions within these higher energy centers. The more advanced the entity, the more tenuous the connection between the sub-logos and the perceived catalyst until finally all catalyst is chosen, generated, and manufactured by the self, for the self. Question 54.18. Questioner: which entities incarnate at this time on this planet would be in the category of manufacturing all of their catalyst? Answer: I am Ra. We find your query indeterminate but can respond that the number of those which have mastered outer catalyst completely is quite small. Most of those harvestable at this space-time nexus have partial control over the outer illusion and are using the outer catalyst to work upon some bias which is not yet in balance. Question 54.19. Questioner: in the case of service to self-polarization, what type of catalyst would entities following this path program when they reach the level of programming their own catalyst? Answer: I am Ra. The negatively oriented entity will program for maximal separation from and control over all those things and conscious entities which it perceives as being other than the self. Question 54.20. Questioner: a positively oriented entity may select a certain narrow path of thinking and activities during an incarnation and program conditions that would create physical pain if this were not followed. Is this correct? Answer: I am Ra. This is correct. Question 54.21. Questioner: would a negatively oriented entity do anything like this? Could you give me an example? Answer: I am Ra. A negatively oriented individual mind, body, spirit complex will ordinarily program for wealth, ease of existence, and the utmost opportunity for power. Thus many negative entities burst with the physical complex distortion you call health. However, a negatively oriented entity may choose a painful condition in order to improve the distortion toward the so-called negative emotive mentations such as anger, hatred, and frustration. Such an entity may use an entire incarnative experience honing a blunt edge of hatred or anger so that it may polarize more towards the negative or separated pole. Question 54.22. Questioner: prior to incarnation, as an entity becomes more aware of the process of evolution and has selected a path whether it be positive or negative, at some point the entity becomes aware of what it wants to do with respect to unblocking and balancing its energy centers. At that point it is able to program for the life experience those catalytic experiences that will aid it in its process of unblocking and balancing. Is that correct? Answer: I am Ra. That is correct. Question 54.23. Questioner: the purpose then of what we call the incarnate physical state seems to be wholly or almost wholly that of experiencing the programmed catalyst and then evolving as a function of that catalyst. Is that correct? Answer: I am Ra. We shall restate for clarity the purpose of incarnative existence is evolution of mind, body, and spirit. In order to do this, it is not strictly necessary to have catalyst. However, without catalyst, the desire to evolve and the faith in the process do not normally manifest, and thus evolution occurs not. Therefore, catalyst is programmed, and the program is designed for the mind, body, spirit complex for its unique requirements. Thus it is desirable that a mind, body, spirit complex be aware of and hearken to the voice of its experiential catalyst, gleaning from it that which it incarnated to glean. Question 54.24. Questioner: then it seems that those upon the positive path as opposed to those on the negative path would have precisely the reciprocal objective in the first three rays, red, orange, and yellow. Each path would be attempting to utilize the rays in precisely the opposite manners. Is this correct? Answer: I am Ra. It is partially and even substantially correct. There is an energy in each of the centers needed to keep the mind, body, spirit complex, which is the vehicle for experience, in correct conformation and composition. Both negative and positive entities do well to reserve this small portion of each center for the maintenance of the integrity of the mind, body, spirit complex. After this point, however, it is correct that the negative will use their three lower centers for separation from and control over others by sexual means, by personal assertion, and by action in your societies. Contrariwise, the positively oriented entity will be transmuting strong red ray sexual energy into green ray energy transfers and radiation in blue and indigo, and will be similarly transmuting selfhood and place in society into energy transfer situations in which the entity may merge with and serve others, and then, finally, radiate unto others without expecting any transfer in return. Question 54.25. Questioner: can you describe the energy that enters these energy centers? Can you describe its path from its origin, its form, and its effect? I don't know if this is possible. Answer: I am Ra. This is partially possible. Question 54.26. Questioner: would you please do that? Ra: the origin of all energy is the action of free will upon love. The nature of all energy is light. The means of its ingress into the mind, body, spirit complex is duple. Firstly, there is the inner light, which is Polaris of the self, the guiding star. This is the birthright and true nature of all entities. This energy dwells within. The second point of ingress is the polar opposite of the North Star, shall we say, and may be seen, if you wish to use the physical body as an analog for the magnetic field, as coming through the feet from the earth and through the lower point of the spine. This point of ingress of the universal light energy is undifferentiated until it begins its filtering process through the energy centers. The requirements of each center and the efficiency with which the individual has learned to tap into the inner light determine the nature of the use made by the entity of these in streamings. Question 54.27. Questioner: does experiential catalyst follow the same path? This may be a dumb question. Answer: I am Ra. This is not a pointless question, for catalyst and the requirements or distortions of the energy centers are two concepts linked as tightly as two strands of rope. Question 54.28. Questioner: you mentioned in an earlier session that the experiential catalyst was first experienced by the South Pole and appraised with respect to its survival value. That's why I asked the question. Would you expand on this concept? Answer: I am Ra. We have addressed the filtering process by which incoming energies are pulled upwards according to the distortions of each energy center and the strength of will or desire emanating from the awareness of inner light. If we may be more specific, please query with specificity. Question 54.29. Questioner: I'll make this statement which may be somewhat distorted and then let you correct it. We have, coming through the feet and base of the spine, the total energy that the mind, body, spirit complex will receive in the way of what we call light. Each energy center then filters out and uses a portion of this energy, red through violet. Is this correct? Answer: I am Ra. This is largely correct. The exceptions are as follows: the energy ingress ends with indigo. The violet ray is a thermometer or indicator of the whole. Question 54.30. Questioner: as this energy is absorbed by the energy centers at some point, it is not only absorbed into the being but radiates through the energy center outwardly. I believe this begins at the blue center and also occurs in the indigo and violet. Is this correct? Answer: I am Ra. Firstly, we would state that we had not finished answering the previous query and may thus answer both in part by stating that in the fully activated entity only that small portion of in-streaming light needed to tune the energy center is used, the great remainder being free to be channeled and attracted upwards. To answer your second question more fully, we may say that is correct that radiation without the necessity of response begins with blue ray, although the green ray, being the great transitional ray, must be given all careful consideration, for until transfer of energy of all types has been experienced and mastered to a great extent, there will be blockages in the blue and indigo radiations. Again, the violet emanation is, in this context, a resource from which, through indigo, intelligent infinity may be contacted. The radiation thereof will not be violet ray but rather green, blue, or indigo, depending upon the nature of the type of intelligence which infinity has brought through into discernible energy. The green ray type of radiation in this case is the healing, the blue ray the communication and inspiration, the indigo that energy of the adept which has its place in faith. Question 54.31. Questioner: what if a mind, body, spirit complex feels a feeling in meditation at the indigo center? What is he feeling? Answer: I am Ra. This will be the last full query of this working. One who feels this activation is one experiencing in-streamings at that energy center to be used either for the unblocking of this center, for its tuning to match the harmonics of its other energy centers, or to activate the gateway to intelligent infinity. We cannot be specific, for each of these three workings is experienced by the entity which feels this physical complex distortion. Is there a brief query before we leave this instrument? Question 54.32. Questioner: I just would ask if there is anything that we can do to make the instrument more comfortable or to improve the contact. Answer: I am Ra. Please be aware of the need for the support of the instrument's neck. All is well. I leave you, my friends, in the love and in the light of the one infinite Creator. Go forth, then, rejoicing in the power and the peace of the one infinite Creator. Adonai.